to what we know,
Yeah.
rather than, you can make little things up, but the big things in there, really before the festival, before we did this research, they weren't out there. You know, the popular conception, in a lot of the earlier biographies, they keep saying he went bankrupt, but there's no evidence to that. And I'll show you more evidence that he didn't. So all the popular stuff of dissolution before Paine leaves England for the first time just simply isn't true. You know, it's not, there's no evidence for that. There's evidence he had a varied career, but that leads me into the next thing. So I'll start now with my presentation of basically officers of excise. Which by magic I wonder if will appear. Yes, it's here. Gosh, that's good, isn't it? Right. So what happened was I looked for. It was known that he wrote this, and the more you think about this, the bigger it gets. 4,000 copies. The petition signed by every. There's two things. There's several strands to this. I'll go through it briefly. This is only a quick trot through. I've got 20 minutes, and I'm writing a doctoral thesis on this, or at least chance to, under Professor Watmore. So this is just a little trot through this one document, really. But just before we get to that, there are reasons why this. I think there are, and I don't think they're engineered reasons. I think it just happens. Sometimes I think of Paine just like a bit like Forrest Gump. He was there when it happened, when this happened, you know? And so I don't see Paine as a great designer. I think he lived in Lewes, and Lewes was a peculiar place, and it's peculiar. One of the main reasons it's peculiar is because it was at the time that Paine rides into town, it's a court leet, and it's. And even the court, it reverts to a court leet after the Restoration. Charles II reached in and changed towns. Apsley was the MP that was on the death warrant of Charles I, so he reaches into these towns. It was a society of 12 before. And we can track through the town books, which we've got from the early 1700s through to the late 1900s. You can track this through. It's a bit of a trawl, but you can track it. You can track it abruptly after 1688. Oh, sorry, after the Restoration. It abruptly moves from a society of 12, a self-selecting society, so you more or less had to know or be part of the family to get voted in. It abruptly changes to a court leet. And it's particularly different in Lewes. The court leet, for reasons of succession from William de Warenne after 1066, there was no male heir come down through that line. So there are 3 lords to Lewes, and they take turns. They're rotating lords, if you like. And the important bit about this is that the steward of the lord in place at the time, is the returning officer at the time of an election. And there are elections in Lewes. It's not a rotten borough, not so rotten as Newcastle was the sitting power. The Duke of Newcastle lives in Halland, just up the road. And he has to spend a lot of money in Lewes to get his guys voted in. He's nearing the end of the life. Paine rides into town at a contested election. That bit's true. Samuel Olive did abstain from voting. But it's a more open-grained society because of this rotating lords business with their steward. If their steward is in at the time of an election, he's a returning officer and can rule some votes ineligible. And he can turn a vote. So this is more open-grained than perhaps many other. So you've got court leets, you've got mayor and boroughs, you've got societies of 12. There's no homogeneity of governance at that time. And the other important thing about a court leet, or the court leet of Lewes at that time, is that you didn't have to be made a freeman of the town to do business. Anyone could do business. So there are a few court leets around at that time, and in those places you get prostitutes doing a bit more business, you get people coming into those places and doing business because they can. So Paine is in this more open-grained society where there's if you like, people have a bit more say in what goes on. And he refers it was referred to earlier on with was it you, Jonathan, said about the Republic, about the way England is run, or was it you, Bill? At a local level. He could see it running at local level like a republic state. Lewis was running like that. There was no hand of Westminster in Lewis. It was done by the parish vestry, which Paine was on. Paine was on the court leet, actually on the court leet. And so he had a full hand, apart from the county assizes, which he observed in the middle of High Street coming round. So he was observant of and in local politics, just like that. As an outrider, he comes into town and bang, he's involved in running the place. So, perhaps if Paine had gone to another town, this might not have unfolded this way. There's a randomness to this. So I just want to set the scene of Lewis as perhaps an unusual place. I don't think, and it always has been a bit, I don't think there's anything, I was born and bred there, I don't think there's anything in the water. I think it's, I don't really much like the term, but I think it's psychogeography. I think that it's near enough to London to do business, but far enough to get away with it, and it's near the coast. Okay, so there's a freedom of movement there. Still is, actually. So here we are. We started looking, and I started looking for one of these. I thought, well, if he wrote the case in Lewis, there must be one here somewhere. Well, there wasn't. And we searched and searched and searched, and there's one. The only one I know, I think there are 2 or 3 more out there, the only one I know is tightly bound with other pamphlets in the British Library. You can ask for it and they give you the whole thing. And I asked them to take it out, and they wouldn't do it for me. Eventually I found that, I can't remember where it came from now, some academic institution had scanned it in, so I got hold of the thing in my hand. I had the transcriptions, but on this case, about these transcriptions, and I think Greg Clays will, there are problems with transcriptions, taking them at face value. Are there any mistakes in them? Phone whoever does it, you trust them, but can you? I didn't want to. I wanted the thing in my hand, and this is the thing. And I've been looking at this for 7 years now. As I say, I came in as an amateur, and I still consider myself as such while I'm a student. And I've read this several times over the 7 years I've been doing this, and it's only started now, after I've been looking and reading, it's starting to mean something to me. It takes ages for me to access anything, but I think it takes a long time to access something that was written a long time ago, and for various reasons. The writer, what's going on, what's it for, and it's only now, really, I'm starting to look at it with any confidence at all. I obviously could be knocked down on this. I'm just going to trot you through some of the actual material. I'm in intellectual history at the University of Sussex, and Professor Watmore is on later as the director of the Institute, I must get this right, the Institute of Intellectual History of St Andrews, and those terms mean something. Rich has written a book recently, What is Intellectual History? It's a really good read, accessible to the general reader as well, I believe, and it appears that I'm naturally in that place because I like looking at the original source material. And as a psychologist, what we didn't buy, what I couldn't buy actually at all, and this was a fierce debate, I had to win this from Brent, I had to win it, was how on earth does a lowly outrider of Excise, a couple of steps up from a supernumerary, how on earth does anyone like that get to write common sense? It's almost as though he's been plucked out from nowhere and put right up there. And that would be a huge jump now, let alone then, from the systems in place then. So it really bothered me that in psychology, nothing happens like that. The brain doesn't work like that even. It takes time. It takes time to process things. It takes time to have self-confidence, self-esteem, writing skills. There's a whole raft of stuff that has to go on before we get anywhere near pen and paper, and let alone pen and paper like common sense. So where's the process? Well, I was looking for process. And I don't know whether I found it or not, but I certainly found some things. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. But so there's a few things that we can look at. One of the most useful resources actually is the first damning biography of Paine by Francis Aldous, George Chalmers. And although he hates Paine and is employed to denigrate his character, he is a rigorous researcher. And as you go through comparative research material, you find on the whole he's right. What he says about Paine is right. So if he says anything good about Paine at all, unless I'm missing something here, unless it's cynical, and you help me with this, you can believe it. Okay? So he refers to on page 28 this document, and he says it's an octavo pamphlet of 21 pages. So what size is octavo? From memory, it's about this size, I think, isn't it? About that size. 21 pages. 4,000 copies. So just hold that for me. That's a lot. That's a lot of printing. And actually, it represents the first. I think this represents the first national unionisation in the world ever. It's a unionisation of workers. This is it. This is the first one. So Aldous says that he says all that the ablest writer could have said. No, I don't think I can read anything else into that he's saying that he can write, and he wrote it well. And his first pamphlet will be considered his best performance by all those who regard truth as superior to falsehood, modesty to imprudence, and just complaint to factious innovation. Now, unless that's off the map cynical, or unless that's a huge swipe at his later writings, it's the only way I can do it, I don't know. But there are the words, we only have the script. But Chalmers knows a thing or two about government. He's in the Board of Trade under Jenkinson. He's no fool. He's far from it. In fact, why did he write under Aldous? Why didn't he write under George Chalmers on this occasion? He took £500 to write this, I think. A lot of money then. Another resource, Paine's letter to Goldsmith. This is, I'll just flick to and fro. I don't know how to go back. I don't know whether technical, it's down there, there we go. So this is the letter to Goldsmith, where Paine really lays it out, actually. All the little question marks and what have you. I was once told by Fred Bayliss, who was a senior economist. He ran the Department of Trade and Industry under Maggie Thatcher for many years. A very good socialist friend of mine, actually, who died recently. A great man, Fred. He once told me, at the beginning of my journey, he said, Paine, the answers are in his writing. And so I've returned time and time again and looked at Paine's own words. If I've had a problem or a sticking point, it's good to go back over and see, actually, did he say anything about this? Because in most cases, he did actually say this stuff. There's sometimes one sentences, there's sometimes little notes, and we'll think about that a bit. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but he does say in this letter to Goldsmith, very nice hand. I've handled this in the British Library. You have to have a special dispensation to get your hands on this. The chief executive of Lewis District Council had to write and say I was a proper chap to do it. Have you ever had that? I don't suppose you get this as professors, but as a sort of an undergrad I had to. Anyway, it's great to handle it. It's a very fair letter. He says it's his first effort. He says his superiors in office have asked him to do this. He didn't do it on his... Most of the early biographers have said he's a rabble-rouser. All his mates in the service, he pushed him forward to do it. Well, he says here his superiors in office. That has a lot of weight, actually. He says a lot of them have gone out, and he's had a lot of letters of approval and approbation. 3,000 have gone out at this stage. 1,000 held back for the Houses of Parliament. This is late 1772, and it never makes Parliament. This pamphlet never makes Parliament. So here is his signature, saying that he'll drop in Goldsmith. He never does. They never meet. Some earlier biographers of Paine say they struck up a relationship where they didn't. Okay, there's no evidence of it, and Goldsmith doesn't last much longer. He dies poisoned by his own emetic Actually, he's worthy of more attention, but one mustn't get sidetracked. And there's his fair hand and the seal. It's rather nice. I like that front page of the, because I'm missing that on that scanning. I wish I had that. I copied that from the British Library and photoshopped out their watermark. So I think we should be able to have it when we want, actually. So here we are. Here's the thing itself, and it's in a few parts, a bit like Common Sense, actually. There's a sort of a resonance there. It's remarks on the qualifications of office, on the numerous evils arriving to the revenue from the insufficiency of the present salary. And he lays it apart. He really goes for it in this, and we won't dwell too much on the whole thing. There's 28 pages, and I've got 6 more minutes. But here is the thing itself. He boils it down, and we've got some further evidence here. Shane Horwell's in the room, who helped me with research, and I helped him with his final dissertation in his undergraduate degree in history at the University of Sussex, and we found stuff together following earlier research by me, and I've been back, Shane, and found more, by the way, where we go through the treasury boxes, which are not catalogued. You don't really know what's in them. You go up there down the bottom of the British Library, you get 6 boxes out, you end up with a load of confetti around your feet at the end of the day, but it's not catalogued in there. So the things, I was trying to find something George Hindmarch said existed, but I didn't have the original document. We went and found it, and then we went again and found some more. I'll show you in a minute. Here we go. Thoughts on remarks, qualifications. So what he does in this writing, those researchers at Tom Paine who look very, very closely know it's really rare that he says anything about himself. It's very hard to get your eye on Thomas Paine. But I like this bit. This is about him. Right. He lends money. He advanced a small sum to enable one of his fellow officers. And so I like that. It's very, very rare Paine talks about something about himself and something he did. Now, whether he made that up or not, this is the other thing about text. You don't really know, do you? Did he make that up? Is he using it as an example? Did Scott say, or his superior in Lewis say that we know this happened? Did he put himself on it? Who knows? You have to take it at that face value. But I like that very much. I like this one, because really the other big thing about Paine is that it's this kind of revolutionary Che Guevara type character that's always railing against the crown and everybody else. Actually, he's not here. He's working for his king. He's in harness here. He's trying to make things better for England. He's trying to make things better for His Majesty, actually. This is the whole point of the case of the officers of excise, is that if they reduce corruption, if they pay the officers enough money, they won't fiddle. That's the bottom line here. He says it in so many different ways, and he goes into human nature and the reasons why. And these are things, there are things in here Paine could not have known. He knew some of it himself, but he wouldn't have known some of the higher level stuff. You can feel someone else's hand in here. Okay, when you really look at this, and I'm just getting around to really looking at this document. So I have a sort of a weak claim to make before the end of this little talk, and we'll get there soon. But there we are. No settlement under His Majesty, and the officers of excise are under the civil list. Okay, they are actually working for His Majesty, not working for anyone else. Okay. This one I really like. This one's just jumped out at me, where he says here, because the whole complaint is that £50 a year, minus all the expenses, etc., boiled down to less than a labourer earns in a day. And these are men that are collecting huge amounts of money for the revenue, and it's really easy for them to be corrupted. They had, in fact, suffered the ignominy. Their wages had been frozen for 100 years by statute. They were desperate for more money. Their money was worth about half of what it was, I think, about 15 years before. There'd been an increase of money in the country. He says it in this document, that they withhold the rise of money in the country like a map of Peru. They're abject from it. They bear no benefit from it. Everybody else is going with inflation, but they're stuck. And as a result of that, they are open to corruption. It gives examples. It gives many examples in this document, deep examples of what's going on under the very noses of the collectors and of the commissioners. Now, I like this bit. A single man may barely live, but it's not the design of the legislature or the Honourable Board of Excise to impose a state of celibacy on them, the condition of much the greater parts are truly wretched and pitiable. Now, Paine does not consummate his marriage. And there, he says it. He can't afford it. And that's really just jumped out at me on this rereading. I think it's an important moment, that. And here we are. Oldest picks up on it. Rickman says this as well. I spent an inordinate amount of time in the Wellcome Library studying the sexual mores of the 18th century excise collectors. It was very exciting. But I won't go on too much about that. But I was up there a week too long. And he says in his book, she engaged as part of the separation document, which came to us during the festival. We actually got our hands on one of the original documents. There's a tripartite agreement, and he says £35 there. Actually, there is the document. I transcribed it. I'm not if I put it out there, Richard. I can't remember whether we put that out there yet or not.
I think you did.
Yeah, there are the signatures, there are the seals, there are the stamps, and that's the transcription. And here we are, and she actually pays him £45, okay? So here's the bankrupt with a year's salary in his pocket that she pays out, that he's married to her. He could have had it all, couldn't he? Why didn't he take it all? Marriage at that time meant all that was hers was his. So there are question marks there, but to my mind, he's certainly not a bankrupt. And he goes off with a year's tax-free money in his pocket. So there are many working through this and working through another rich resource is the Sussex Weekly Advertiser or Lewis Journal, where really the idea, what I can see in here, with the contact, Oldys says that Paine is George Lewis Scott's protégé, the Commissioner of Excise. Paine says himself that Scott introduces him to Benjamin Franklin. These connections are real. How does anyone like Paine get to meet Scott? How does he come to his attention? We think possibly because he's writing letters and getting them published in the Lewis Sussex Weekly Journal. He writes as Humanus, we're 80% sure it's him, as Humanus about the iniquities of the poor law. He writes a little design of the fire escape. So, I mean, I don't know, we're still working on this. Perhaps we can never know. But we think that he's spotted as a writer. Lee was apprenticed under Beckenham, a stationer in London. For 27 years he was up there with him. So it's the stationers we're looking at. They're the connected people. They're the people in the Royal Society in London. It's a smaller world. They're the ones. They're the printers. They're in the know. So Lee prints this, William Lee. And what we see in Lewis, I'll wrap it up now, what we see in Lewis, the first newspaper in Sussex starts in 1746, and I've tracked this through, I've digitised the copies with Richard's help, the university's help. I'm sitting on those PDF files, trawling through them at the moment. And what you see is an explosion of action in just the time that Paine's in town. This is the Wilkes Furore. These are the letters of Junius. These are all these are reprinted in the Sussex Weekly Journal or Advertiser or Lewis Journal. So, and there's an explosion of iterative pieces from London reporting on all this in a repetitive, iterative way right through the newspaper. Week on week on week. It's very, very busy through the 6 years that Paine is in town. In a way that I don't know that it is in Bristol. I'm very interested in Bristol, the local newspapers. I haven't got to that yet, but I suspect they look the same. I don't know. But not everywhere's like it. But Paine was in Lewis. This is what matters. So there we are. That's my short piece on the case of the officers of excise, and thank you very much for your kind attention.
Can I ask, you owe it to us to tell us why it failed, whether it was chance, bureaucracy or gross corruption?
Well, I think he's a whistleblower. And if you look at this document, he lays out why it isn't working, chapter, verse, and in detail. Now, it's supported by the Commissioners of Excise, right? There's no doubt about that either. The way that this tracks through. Can I have the slides back again? Do you mind, Alistair, if I another 2 minutes here? Could I have my slides back again? Oh, I've got them. Right. What I didn't show you, what I never got through to, was earlier petitions here. But it was the wrong procedure. In Jan 69 in Wales, this is what I found with Shane, 69 in Wales, these are earlier petitions with signatures. Paine wasn't the first up on this one. So I think Paine is a craftsman writer. I think he's employed as a craftsman writer to get this right this time. There's been 3 earlier attempts that failed. They write straight to the Lords of the Treasury, circumventing the Excise Commission. There's the Excise Commission looking after all the officers in the land, but they had to go to the Treasury for more money. They've gone straight to the Treasury. That hasn't worked 3 times, actually, and there's side letters, very similar language, some lines exactly the same. Paine is employed later to actually attempt to get this right. So they write to the commissioners first with a committee of 8, a petition with all the signatures. That's forwarded to the Treasury of Laws. At the same time, 3,000 of these have been distributed right around the country, waiting to get to the House. Now, if I was a Lord of the Treasury, I wouldn't like to admit I got it that wrong. Okay? This is like going to your governor saying, actually, you don't know how to run your company. You are really bad at it because this is happening. And I think that's why it never makes it. Yes?
We have time for one very small question.
Yes.
And a serious one. My small question is, I've always been puzzled by the claim that 4,000 copies of this pamphlet were distributed. My reason is that I'm a book collector. I never see this.
They're not out there, are they? Where are they? But we have his letter to Goldsmith.
Where they were sent, who received them, what happened when they were
It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
But this is the question. What do you think from your analysis of the content of this pamphlet? What was the significance of that for Paine's later writings? Because, for example, when he gets to the American colonists, he doesn't interfere in the disputes between American colonists and British customs officers and say, I can fix this by removing corruption, by raising my salary. When you get to rights of man, he doesn't say, oh, but here we have the bureaucracies of monarchies, but I can fix all their problems by putting them on a rational basis. Does this have no ongoing significance?
Yes, it does, because he comes out with solutions later where he knows he starts playing the numbers game. And I think he's confident in his knowledge from the information that he garners from writing this and his own experience of an excise officer. I think he's quite clear about all that. And I think that's why he can talk confidently later. When he does build up cases for the Navy, he comes out with numbers. He actually does that later. He doesn't get involved. He's already tried that. Look, it didn't work. And I think this is Paine seething, furious that this goes nowhere, actually. And it fits you. I like your idea that he writes the first 2 chapters, if you like, of Common Sense in England, because it follows on directly from this. The longer you think about it, the more sense that makes, actually. So maybe we have some evidence, I don't know.
What was the role of his boss, the guy who...
Commissioner. You heard earlier, he was earlier a preceptor to King George III as a junior, put there by Bolingbroke, the Jacobite.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to this, actually.
Yeah.
But the thing is, all the actors here, including Franklin, certainly Scott, are trying to keep this very quiet. They're not shouting about this, whatever it is they're doing. They're very zipped. It's dangerous, very dangerous stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting whatever his influence was in forming
Scott, I think he's a player. And I think with that, Paine himself says earlier that he knows some traditions of the court from some people very close to him. Well, that has to be Scott. He doesn't know anyone else that close. So Scott's regaling people in private, I think.